stupid. Go ahead. Again. I just want to bring out one point. Sometimes a disappointment turns into an opportunity. Amen. When I talk to the kids and I talk to people, believe me, don't let that disappointment turn you down. Because if you keep going, it could turn into an opportunity and it'll be worked out wonderfully. Okay, the Navy men are not here, but the Army people, private, first class, corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant. I just want to tell you one thing. The way it wound up, every sergeant who gave me my basic training was under me in combat. So, believe me, it turned into an opportunity. Before the invasion, we were training, of course, getting on the boats off the road. Now, I must tell you this. The gun that we have is a 90mm gun, like the Germans 88, only we improved it. It's 9.5 tons, the gun. The barrel is 15 feet long. You take a look at the shell that I brought in there. It's 3 feet tall and weighs 45 pounds each shell. And I can fire 25 rounds a minute. Believe me, so when I talk about these things, it's very, very urgent that people know it. When we were in Slapton Sand, basically there before we got to Slapton Sand, 2 German torpedo boats came in and sunk 2 of our LSTs and damaged a 3rd. It had to be a total secret because it was before the invasion. Anybody who talked about that during that time was put in jail or someplace because they didn't want the American families to know their boys got killed before the invasion. So it was a total secret. I was there. I have a chronological order of every single day of the war. I didn't write it, but my battalion wrote it. So I could tell you where I was every single day of the war. Because of that, I was able to prove something to people. There's a company called D-Day Revisited in England. They checked me out completely. They brought me and my wife back for the 70th anniversary, paid all our expenses, came back to England, went to the Utah Beach, went to Omaha, went all over the place so that I could speak and do everything else. Incidentally, where's Bernice? That's my wife, and we're married 70 years. So much can one guy get to go through World War II and dig their wounded and married 70 years to a beautiful lady and still tell her I love her every day. All right, this is the Ghost Army. People have no idea what it is. The closest port to France from England was Port de Calais. Now this is strictly California, strictly Hollywood stuff. We had to camouflage and fool the Germans, and we used Patton's name to do it. Go ahead, please. This isn't the Ghost Army. Go ahead. This is it. Now listen to me. Air-inflated rubber tanks. Air-inflated planes. Air-inflated anything they can put their hands on. They air-inflated them. And then when we camouflage them, when the Germans flew over the top, you're going to see pictures of it, to the point that they thought where we were going to come in. And then they used Patton's name, because the Germans said if Patton is there, that's where they're going to come in. Go ahead, please. Take a look at this. Go ahead, please. This is how we camouflaged. And when they're in a plane, etc., and you look down, you can't tell anything other than it's true. Real facts. Go ahead, please. Look at this. Wow, these Americans are very strong. 4 men can pick up a tank and walk away. Okay, now this is the largest the largest water invasion in history. 200,000 Americans, 83,000 British, Canadian, Polish, and ground forces. Go ahead, please. Now this is basically where all the blue lines here that you see, we trained in England, and then when I wound up in Utah, and the other Americans wound up in Omaha, and then it was Gold, Sword, and Juno, the rest of us. So basically, this is what it is. 24,000 of us wound up on Utah, 35,000 in Omaha, 25,000 Gold, 22 in Juno, and 29,000 in Sword. But believe me when I tell you, we were pulled, we had a 9.5-ton gun, but we were pulled by what they call a Caterpillar, a full-track unit that I'll show you in a minute. Go ahead, please. This is Utah Beach. People have no idea what the hell it was when everything was mined totally. This line here basically was the only line open that the Germans knew that they could go in and out, but we didn't know it. We didn't know about the mines. So, go ahead, please. This is an 88 from the ground that they fired at us. Go ahead. All right, that's not important. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. This is unbelievable. We were in these type of boats, the U-boats, the Higgins boats, I beg your pardon. They were taking us in from the big boats on to the shore. We get about 11 feet out, and the sailor says to my lieutenant, he says, "You better get my men ready. We're going to get ready to close that, open that door." Now, we had a 3-pound helmet on our head. We had a rifle, we had ammunition, I had 4 hand grenades strapped to my chest, I had ammunition across here and the back. I had a 27-pound pack on my back of everything that I owned. The lieutenant took his 45 out and said to the sailor, because they were getting killed going back and forth, because what they did is they dropped us off, picked up our dead and our wounded and brought them back in. So they were totally exposed, just like more than we were. But anyway, we got about 4 or 5 feet out. Go ahead, please. And now they're ready to give that last full measure of devotion. Believe me, what we talked about was the long life that we figured we had is going to be shortened very, very, very well. Please, go ahead. Now, before I get to that, I want to talk about one more thing. Picture me in 5 feet of water. Laugh. You can laugh. I didn't laugh at the time. You can laugh, but I didn't laugh at the time. Ramos put all these poles. If you've seen any of the movies, you've seen poles that were all mined. They thought, the Germans thought, if we're going to invade at all, we're coming in at high tide. When our planes flew over, our observation planes flew over, and saw all the poles lined up, there were close to 5,000 poles on all of the landings there. They said, you can't come in at high tide, you got to come in at low tide because our ships will blow up and everything in it will blow up. So we came in at low tide, and that exposes the beaches another 300 feet that they were killing us, believe me. Go ahead. All of these poles were mined, all the way up and down the line. Go ahead. All right, Barry has slowed us down, etc., but we don't want to talk too much about the dead. Please go ahead. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is what we went through, believe me, when we were coming in on that invasion. 195,000 men coming in on an invasion. Go ahead, please. The Allied aircraft the same way. Go ahead, please. The Allied vessels, they used everything that they could, everything that could float, they used. Go ahead, please. Okay, the big thing here is 105,000 tons of supplies. Now, you have to understand, and this is the biggest point of this conversation, everything had to be brought to us. We had no toilets, no sinks, no showers, nothing. We used our helmet to wash and shave and brush our teeth. People do have no idea what it was. I spoke in Washington to a school in Washington, and when I talked about no toilets and no sinks, a little girl stood up and said, "You have no privacy at all?" And when I said no, she said, ugh, how can you do that? Ugh. All right, we shot down planes. Now, I must tell you this, with this gun that I'm talking about, the 90mm gun, I could shoot 30,000 feet up into the air at a plane. The radar that we had, now we're talking 75 years ago, we brought it in from England. The radar could tell us the height of the plane, the speed of the plane, and how far in front of that plane we'd have to shoot in order to knock them down. So we had attachments to our gun, what they call a fuse setter, attached to the gun. We could fire 25 rounds a minute, and when you see the size of that shell, we had 14 men on the gun, 5 men to control the gun, the height, the weight, to control the thing, 9 men to control ammunition. And we could fire 25 rounds a minute with that. Go ahead, please. Okay, finally making past the beach. Go ahead. I'm rushing it through because my time is limited.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, okay. Okay, the gun basically was pulled by a tractor because of the snow and the ice and the snow and etc. The gun was 9.5 tons. Go ahead, please. Same way, go ahead. That's the size of the gun, that's what it is. Basically, I have to brag a little bit because the captain told the colonel Irving Locker had turned the poorest gun crew into the best, gaining the top gun commander rating against all odds. So every promotion to staff sergeant in a combat zone at age 19 after only 18 months of service in charge of 65 men and all the equipment was the achievement of a lifetime. The Germans were so far ahead of us because Roosevelt did not want to go into the war. So the last 3 years, they developed different things that we have no idea. This is called a Goliath. It's a miniature tank, 2 feet by 3 feet by 5 feet long, that could go underneath our tanks and blow us up. Watch. Go ahead. When our tanks approach the same way, the drivers of the tanks don't look down. Go ahead, please. That's a miniature tank that can blow it up. And I'll show you pictures of it afterwards, where it comes up to my waist. But they were so far ahead of us that they really, really were. Go ahead, please. This is the biggest problem we had, Achtung mining. Achtung mining means there are mines. You saw the mines on the front when we came in. But every field, in order to slow us down, every field, every road, everything that they could put down, they put these signs, Achtung mining. You never know whether you could believe them or you didn't believe them. A big point is when we got a march order to go 30 miles or 40 miles or 100 miles, I would leave to go to the new position. By the time my men were there, we'd had a mine with a mine detector who could go through the fields, etc. Where we had to move 10 miles, we had no time to do that. I would take a Jeep and run that field so my men wouldn't get killed. Because believe me, it's an important situation. I was the biggest crook. I became the procurement officer because I didn't understand German. So I became the biggest crook. I would go to the barns and I would steal hay and straw and eggs and whatever else I could put my hands on. And I must tell you this. I found a barn and had a little house alongside of it. Now, living in the city, I didn't know what an outhouse was. So I take a look at this door, I open the door, there's a board with a hole in it. I took it away from the Germans, brought it back to my men, and then set it up, became a 5-holer, and it was great. I got straw and hay for my men to sleep so that way, and it was worked out wonderful. Then we found our planes bombed a barrack, a German barrack, and I found the ceiling of one of the barracks. Took it back to the outfit, cut it out. And where we extended before, with sandbags around for my men, we extended the roof on it and put a roof on it so my men could sleep there rather than digging a foxhole every single night. And if anybody heard of Jonathan Kellerman or Faye Kellerman, they're authors. Their father was in my outfit, a genius, an absolute genius. And he put lights in that thing for me. It was great. Go ahead. Go ahead, that's this is I found a German with a water pump. Took it away from him, brought it back to my outfit with the pipes and all. The first time my men had a shower in 3 months. Picture that. a shower in 3 months. Believe me, when people do not know what we went through. Go ahead. All right, the guns are, go ahead. Anti-aircraft, shrapnel, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Anyway, can you go back one or not? This is what the gun looked like. This is what the gun looked like. And of course, there's a platform on it. And we had to be in the field because shooting that size shell, we could not be near a city. It would take people. 90% of my men are deaf in both ears. 90% of my men, and how I got away with it. You talk about God, and you talk about I thank God every single day because I'm not deaf, thank God. Go ahead, please. Interesting. You talk about Red Bull Express. Everything had to be brought to us. Our food, our ammunition, our medicine, everything. When the trucks would drop off their men in a new position, they would go back to the port in Cherbourg, load up, and then come back and bring it to us. We couldn't understand how every time we got a truck in, we got shelled. One of the men were up in a tree fixing the communication line. He saw the truck pull in, and when it's in the field, it raised the dust in the road. When the truck stopped, the dust settled. 10 minutes later, we got nailed because we were unloading it. From that point on, if he didn't come down and talk to us about it, I wouldn't be here today. So that's basically some of the stories that we worked. From that point on, they could not come into the field with those trucks. They stayed on the road, and we went out to get it and brought our supplies in. Go ahead. Yeah. No, okay.
Sit in the Oval Office with Donald J. Trump. And what did you think about that? And what do you just tell us what you like about Mr. Trump?
Well, I love him. I love him. And I must tell you this. I had a conversation with our President Donald Trump, and I said to him, for a guy who had the whole world in his hands, you could have anything you want. Anything, right? And you gave it all up to help make this country great again. So you went up and all you're getting now is abuse 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yes.
And I said, you've been up and higher in my estimation that you were before. So he laughed and he thanked me, and that was it. But he's a great guy. Great guy.
Absolutely the best president we've ever had. Okay, you want to do the
last chance?
The Stan's twice right here. Where's your Donald Trump stuff at tonight, Stan? I just thought you'd tell him real quick.
I just want to tell you that we're going to be closing the 50-50 in the corner. This is how we help fund the club, the room, and everything that we do. So if you can help out, you may win some money. Thank you.
Okay, Stan, thank you very much. And now I'm going to introduce the pastor of Freedom Fellowship Church. Yes. Oh. You want to do some donations? I don't know if we're getting. Can you sing? I don't know if we get any music or anything. Okay.
I'll sing for you, David.
Oh, all right. Okay. So anyway, I guess this is on the program. I didn't see it, but we actually pay for the room. The reason we pay for the room here is that allows us to allow anybody to come to any of our meetings at any time. And the way that we defray the cost of the room is we pass the hat, and if you're so inclined to want to help us set off, I think it's about $450, $500 a night to get these rooms. If you want to help us with that, we'd love to have your participation. But even while we're passing the hat, we've got a little bit of commotion. I want to keep our program going. And I'd like to introduce to you now my pastor of Freedom Fellowship Church, Melvin Whittington, who also is on our faith committee working with Bishop Cotto. And Melvin, tell the folks about Bishop Cotto and then introduce our special guest tonight. Melvin Whittington, everybody.
Let's
Let's be in prayer for Bishop. His father had a severe heart attack this morning, and he had to go to St. Petersburg to be with his family and to lead them through this ordeal. He lost his mother just a few months ago. I attended her funeral, and so let's just be in prayer for Bishop. Also, I want to tell you that we have 2 more nights. If you enjoy your guest tonight is coming to speak to us, Paul Begley. Then 2 more nights he will be with us at Freedom Fellowship at 7 o'clock both times. So if you would like, you could come and also hear him tomorrow night at 7 and Wednesday night. I could introduce Pastor Begley as simply a pastor and a preacher. I could introduce him as a theologian because he is that as well. I could introduce him as a prophecy scholar, and very few people that I've ever met that understands prophecy in the Word more than he does. I could introduce him as a TV radio personality, and because he is that on TV every night except for Saturday night. Last night from our church, as he spoke, over 20,000 people were watching live stream. You can't see it right now, but there's an iPad down here that we makeshift trash can over there and sit on top, and people are watching now. I've been watching the comments. One guy a minute ago said, Paul Begley for president in 2020. No. And the next guy behind him said, well, he might as well, everybody else is running, right. So it's kind of funny. They're just having fun. I could have introduced him as an author of 5 books on prophecy, an expert on prophecy. But tonight, I feel that I would just like to introduce my friend, Pastor Paul Begley, as a fellow conservative patriot who loves this country and loves our president. Paul Begley.
Thank you so much. What a crowd. What a crowd. You know, you could have also introduced me as a deplorable. Fine. It's great to be here. It's an honor to be here tonight. It really is. And, I mean, what a 2-year run for President Trump. Okay? Are you serious? Wow. The President of the United States certainly has, as you said, taken a lot of abuse. And there's no question that he could have. And I just want to say, Mr. Locker, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. America, thank you. You're awesome. You're awesome.
I'm 94 years old, still going strong. Run like hell.
Look, I am not going to get in your way. How do you follow that? Wow, my wife of almost 37 years is here. My wife Heidi's here tonight. Would you stand? We had a great time at Freedom Fellowship last night, and just yesterday morning and last night, talking about Bible prophecy and how it relates to the time we're living in. And it was true, over 20,000 people watched that live last night. And tonight, I don't know what the number will be, and I sure hope that folks will get a feeling of the power of the villages. Because you folks are really why President Trump won Florida. It's because of you. It really is. You know, when you talk about President Trump, I like to let people know that in the summer of 2016, I was in Jerusalem and doing a television show interviewing Avi Lipkin. And he asked the question to me, he said, who do you think is going to win the presidency? And I told him, I said, well, there's 2 things I believe is going to happen. The British are going to Brexit, and Trump is going to win the election. Because the world is tired of the global elitist agenda. They don't want it. We don't need a Green New Deal. What we need is to be Americans, founded on the foundations of truth, of democracy and a republic, founded on the Word of God. Freedom. God's given right to every human being is to be free. And in America, this nation is an example of just that. And so when you think about President Trump, I was interviewed by several different newspapers and groups, and I told them, and we just recently had a blood moon, okay? A blood moon. Now that's a natural phenomenon. A blood moon is natural, but but it's also very prophetic. If you study in the Bible, the book of Genesis, the 14th chapter, in the 14th verse of the first chapter, the creation, it says that God made the sun, the moon, and the stars for signs and seasons for days and years. So the planets were put in place, the moon, the orbiting around the sun that the earth has, the lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, all of these are, yes, natural phenomenons, but they're also prophetically put in a perfect sequence. Now, when Israel became a nation in 1948, 70 years has passed during that time. In 1995, the United States Congress passed legislation to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem in 1995 as a show of good faith, because the only democracy in the Middle East is Israel. And so it was passed, but was delayed by President Clinton 6 months, every 6 months to be reviewed if it was time to do it politically or whatever. And for the next 20-some years, every president delayed it 6 months at a time. No one had the political gusto, no one had the guts to go against the grain and do what was right. Until Donald J. Trump got in office. When he ran, he said, if I'm elected, I will move the embassy. But we had heard that before. But we were looking for somebody who will do what he says and says what he does. Thank you. And so President Trump did just that. He made the announcement as they were approaching the 70th year of Israel as a nation, and from a biblical scholar standpoint, I can tell you 70 is a huge divine number. You know, God sent out 70 witnesses. There were 70 palm trees. They were 70 years in captivity in Babylon. 70 just goes up. Even the second temple was destroyed in 70 AD. So why in the world, on the 70th year of Israel as a nation, the President of the United States moves the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, declares Jerusalem the capital of Israel, and dedicates the embassy on its anniversary? Are you serious? Sometimes you got to do what's right. And what's really wild about this 70-year thing is that when President Trump was elected, the day he put his hand on the Bible and swore to be the commander-in-chief of this great nation, he was 70 years old, 7 months, and 7 days. And during this 70 years of Israel, we're still in the 70-year year right now, because it started on May the 14th, 2018. There was a blood moon over Jerusalem on January 27th. It was the longest blood moon of this century. Okay? And then we had another blood moon just recently, still in the 70th year, on January 20th of 2019. It was a super blood moon, and it was over Washington, D.C. Oh, and by the way, President Trump was born on June the 14th, 1946, the night of a blood moon. Now, you just can't make this stuff up. So if Hillary wins the election, I'm going to ask you a question. Is Jerusalem the capital of Israel? No. Have we moved the embassy yet? No. Do you believe it? Is the new Green Deal coming in play?
No.
Do we need to go any further?
No.
So when are we voting? Folks, I'm going to tell you something. The President of the United States has taken absolute abuse. Now, there's two things going on. Benjamin Netanyahu just got indicted. 2 charges of bribery because he received a bottle of wine from one guy and a box of cigars from another.
Good grief.
Okay. The President of the United States, and why is this happening? Because on April 9th, they're getting ready to make an election to see who's going to be the Prime Minister of that nation. Iran has just announced they have 16 points that they have to stop Netanyahu from beginning in office. So even this past year, I spoke at the Knesset. I was invited to come to the Knesset for a Bible study of Christians and Jews in the Knesset. And I spent time with Rabbi Yehuda Glenn, who's one of the members of the Knesset. He's a good friend of mine. And we went out, and there was an entire room filled with Christians and Jews studying the Bible in their Knesset, in their parliament, if you call it. And I said to myself, something's happening. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah that the word of the Lord will flow out of Jerusalem. And so something's starting to happen. So I said to myself, what about America? Well, America has decided to stay with Israel, to defend it,
Yes.
to help establish it, and we're not going to turn our back on it. We're not. We're not. Yet we have members of Congress today, just today, continue anti-Semitism against the Jewish people on a daily basis. And they're sitting in the United States Congress. We have 44 senators who still don't understand that if a baby was born in a botched abortion, they would not help it survive. 44! Can we get rid of these people? We just heard a man speak who just went through hell and back that this country could be founded on freedom. For every person have a right to speak, freedom of speech, our First Amendment. But yet in social media, we are finding out that if you're a schoolboy wearing a Make America Great Again hat, you just might get harassed. Not only by the people outside, but by the lamestream media that attack every person that wears a red hat.
Your own bishop, too.
Thank you. They attack them. They attack me. Let me tell you what they did to me. 3 months before the midterms, there was a meeting held in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm just a little country preacher from the cornfields of Indiana. Sitting in the basement of my little studio, I've been blessed. I don't know why. God touched me. He told me, I've been preaching 35 years, but the Lord told me, I was praying, God, what do you want me to do? And he said, I want you to get a cup of coffee. Good. Calm down and get coffee. Get a Bible, and I want you to get a computer with a camera and turn it on. And every day I want you to talk about current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. And do this every day till I tell you to stop. And I've been doing it now for 9 years. In that 9-year period, at first nobody cared. I did it, I went and get 10 views. I get 10 views. I watched it 3 times myself. Nobody cared. And I prayed, God, what do you want me to do? Keep doing it. Stay on it, stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. Finally, it started to take off. Today we have over 312,000 subscribers on YouTube. 185 million views. So when your voice starts to rise, there are those who hate free speech. Oh yeah, you can have free speech. But no, you can't have free speech if you're standing for what's right. And so what happened was, there was a meeting in Washington, D.C. You guys know Diamond and Silk? You ever seen I just love those girls. I mean, they're just amazing. Mark Levin? Yeah. Sean Hannity? Well, they're having a meeting with, and they met with 67 people, and I happened to be at another conference preaching, and so I didn't have a chance to be at this meeting. But while they were there, some of the other the Hagmans, the Hagman and Hagmans, and there's some other YouTube personalities do a great job. And while they were at the meeting, it was discussed, that a plan was in play to silence the YouTube voices. And my name was brought up in the meeting. So we can't let him. I mean, he's going to be wearing that Trump hat. I got the flag going behind me. He's praying, God bless America. They can't stand it. And they knew I was going to get all over that Green New Deal when that came out. They're worried about cow farts.
You can't make this
We're from Indiana. We got dairy farms. Okay. So, all right. So I'm a preacher. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it G if I can. But the thing is, what they said was, we're going to silence them. We're going to temporarily quiet them. And they come and they told me, they said, hey, they brought your name up. You're going to get silenced. I said, wait, why? I haven't done anything wrong. They went back 2.5 years into my videos. I got 14,000 YouTube videos out there. They went back 2.5 years and found an old video where I made reference to a world leader and said, this guy, because he had just killed a bunch of his own people, I said, what is up with this guy? Is he the Antichrist or what? I said that 2.5 years ago. And they said, that is hate speech. So they shut my live feed off for 90 days, which took it past the midterm. And they did it to several of us, to silence our voice, because they knew the masses were watching us, the people in the villages, the people, you know, in Georgia and South Carolina, all North Carolina, the Midwest, all over. They knew that we would be talking about Trump's the man. I'm going to tell you right now, Trump is God's man for America. I'm just going to say that right now. President of the United States. He's God's man. And because he stands up for your freedom of speech. He just said this at CPAC, didn't he?
Yep.
He wants you to have your Second Amendment rights.
Yep.
Because let me tell you something. Look at Venezuela. They gave up their guns 4 years before Hugo Chavez turned the most prosperous nation in South America into a super socialist society. And then after they had no guns, if you have no guns, then you will have no voice. And if you have no voice, they'll do what they want to you. And now 21 years later, these people are in chaos. They are hungry. Their businesses have been robbed. Their bank accounts eliminated. Inflation is at 200%. And they're beating on the borders. They're trying to get in Brazil. They're trying to get in Colombia. And right now, Nicolas Maduro is shooting his own people and blowing up the humanitarian aid trucks, stopping from feeding people. I've got news for you. This guy's full of the devil, and I don't have any problem with saying it. Anybody that would do this to innocent people is not, listen, he has to be removed. President Trump will get rid of this guy. I'll guarantee you. This guy will go one way or another. He's got to go. He'll go. Yep. So whenever the Green New Deal came out to say there was a society change and $93 trillion, and I don't know, and they said those of you on the tippy top can pay for all of the taxes. And here's the thing about it. There's 14 people now running for president. Yeah. Okay, now it's up to 14.
Bring it on.
Huh? Right. 14.
Let them self-destruct.
Right. 14, 5 of them were part of the 44 that voted for infanticide, okay? 7 of them are already admitted socialists. Trump is laughing at them. What he's doing is basically putting a strategy together. You can see what it is. He's already branded them. He's saying, what do you want? Socialism or a free democracy? What do you want, America? Choose. This is going to be easy. It's going to be the most ugliest campaign ever. But we're going to blow them away in the end because the American people know the truth. You know, I'm an American. I love everybody. I'm a pastor. I've got, it doesn't matter what political affiliation people are to come to the church. I'm leading people to Jesus Christ, and I'm doing the best I can to get people to the Lord. I'll pray for anyone that's sick. I'll help anybody in need. But when it comes to the structure of the nation, when it comes to the rules that govern our livelihood, our opportunities, you want to have freedom. You don't want higher taxes. You want lower taxes. It fuels an economy. It's proven. Look at the last 2 years under President Trump. By cutting taxes and getting rid of regulations and bureaucracy, it has fueled an economy that's absolutely incredible. I was talking to people who are real estate agents here in the villages. That's probably one of the greatest jobs in the world. People are buying and selling, and then people are, look, the economy's turning. There's thousands of jobs in manufacturing that's come back. No wonder China's sweating bullets about the tariffs, because the tariffs on China goods isn't hurting American goods. It makes American goods worth buying. Can somebody help me? And when people need a job, look, whenever folks are hurting financially, it affects the family. But when people are working, people are moving around, the family is blessed. I thought about the president. This job is beyond even any one man, really. The weight on his shoulders must be incredible.
Oh, Lord.
And I pray for him and his family. The Vice President Mike Pence from Indiana. My wife worked for him a long time ago as a nurse in the nursing homes. She would get emails from the governor of Indiana. He sent an email to every government employee every Monday morning saying, "Good morning. I'm Mike Pence. First, I'm a Christian. Second, I'm your governor." In other words, he put faith out there, and he wanted to be sure people understood. Right now in the White House, there's prayer meetings going every week. Every week. There are pastors that come in and pray with the president. Almost every week, he has pastors in the Oval Office laying their hands on him and anointing him and praying with him.
We need that.
Don't we? And so when you think about it, when America has its greatest challenges, they have to come up, whether it be facing challenges militarily. Our military was suffering over the last 8 years before the president got in. They had canceled contracts. I talked to guys that helped retrofit the U.S. Navy ships. For 6 years, they weren't doing any upgrades. Okay, we had technology escaping out the back door. China and Russia and other nations were getting their hands on our technology. We were slowly being stripped down. Thank God it's turned around. We truly do need 4 more years of the President Trump on top of 2 more to make it 6. And then let's just let that momentum carry on. Let America see just what it means to have a truly free nation. I want to thank every one of you, because I can see the patriotism in this room is amazing.
Yes.
The energy in this room is incredible.
Yes.
There's folks here that truly love this nation. You know, all 3 of my sons have served in the military. My oldest son did a tour of duty in Afghanistan in Kandahar during the surge. Remember the McCain surge? Kandahar province. He was my oldest son, and he went to school to become a culinary cook. In the United States Army, he actually won the Iron Chef Award. Pretty amazing. But he was sent to Afghanistan for a year, and he thought he was going to be cooking and helping with the rest of his soldiers, and they handed him a machine gun. Said, "You're going into Kandahar province. You're riding shotgun on a diesel fuel through the province, and you're going to help build outposts. You're going to defend those outposts. You get relieved. You're going to keep doing this." So my wife and I prayed for a solid year. We fasted. We prayed. Every day on CNN, there were 6 killed, 7 killed. The next day, there's 8 more soldiers, 6 more, always in Kandahar province, every day. So let me just say to the Gold Star families, God bless every one of you.
Amen.
My wife prayed and prayed, started a prayer group, had people praying everywhere. She asked God that her son, that he would hide him. He didn't have to stand behind anybody tall either. She asked God to hide him from the enemy, that they couldn't see him. And for him to come home without a scratch. There was 1,000 men that went to war with him from Fort Lewis in Washington State. And every battalion that was sent to the war lost men, except one. My son's battalion. Every man came out. going to say it's totally the power of prayer. So when the preacher, I think it's a preacher that spoke a moment ago, 5 more minutes. The preacher spoke a few minutes ago and said that my people that are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. I would hear from heaven, forgive the sin, heal the land. He's exactly right. Our nation has been healed, has been given a reprieve, but the job's not done. We got to finish this thing. We got to drive socialism so far to the wall on the left that if people stick against it like Velcro, and there should no Nancy Pelosi shoveling the papers behind the president of this state. You know, I found out that somehow she got the wrong speech. And she would, seriously, so she was supposed to know when he was going to be and then give them cues when to stand and sit. So, you know, I mean, the president was brilliant. I mean, he had the greatest speech ever delivered in the State of the Union address. The American people saw the truth. They saw who were really standing for them, the American people, and they saw the folks who were confused and disillusioned and confusion and the Russian collusion, delusion, and solution. And as this was all going on, the president was saying that you were supposed to stand on that. He knew their cues. They didn't know their cues. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
That was great.
He did it on purpose.
Yes. He did it on purpose, brother. That's right. But you know when he said all children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God. It was the greatest statement ever made from the State of the Union address. So thank all of you for being great patriots, doing your duty, standing for America. God bless President Donald Trump. God bless each and every citizen of the United States. And may God bless America.
Jim, come on up, and while Jim Begley is coming up to dismiss us and tell us about the next meeting, Paul, several people said they'd like to have a cup of coffee with you, and so if we could go over to Panera Bread tomorrow afternoon about 3 o'clock, would you just chat with some people and tell them more about Bible prophecy and what Trump's doing? How many people would like to come over for a cup of coffee with Paul tomorrow, Panera Bread at Lake Sumter? I see several hands back there. All right. Okay. Everybody that raise your hand, just come. What time is it? 3 o'clock at the bar, Panera Bread, Lake Sumter. You'll be there, Paul?
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Thank you very much. And we'll ask you more then. Jim Begley, dismisses.
Did you get your picture?
I can't thank everybody enough for showing up in a crowd like this. And I gotta add something to the event here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right, how's that? I can't thank everybody enough, and to thank all our volunteers for this special evening that you really came out and showed what Trump fans there are, or Trump supporters there are in the villages. Now I want to make you aware of something. We're just not working alone. There's someone here that wants to stand up. Where'd Marina Wilcott go? Marina, where are you? Okay, she's in the back. Marina